Hey everybody, it's Tammy Van Hollander, and I am so excited to have Sonia Murray here all the way from the UK. And Sonia, I really wanted to reach out to you. You've trained play therapists, you've been doing play therapy, and now you're moving to telehealth, teleplay therapy, we've been calling it, and also do a lot of client-centered work as well. And I just thought that you could provide so much insight to us. All the way over in the UK. So thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you for inviting me, Tammy. That's great, and thank you for putting out these videos. It's been great. It's keeping everybody going and connected as well, because especially in this time, it feels can be a very isolating time. So it's making sure. So thank you. I appreciate your reaching out and connecting with us. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit. We spoke for a while prior to this interview of just all the wonderful things that you have been doing, and just even the preparation of the transition to telehealth, and then what you've done to really support your clients, and a little bit about the clients that you worked with, and how you've been providing actually packages for them, which I think is also so beautiful.
So thank you, Tammy. Yeah, it's been a process, and it's an interesting process for us. I would say, not quite as advanced as other countries with the tele-mental health and certainly the tele-play therapy. I mean, I've been trained since 1992-93 in traditional face-to-face play therapy. So for me, it's been a big learning curve and rapid learning curve. So it's been a bit like a bit on a treadmill, but it's working, Tammy. It's been really effective, and I think that's what I think. But it's been a process. I needed to understand the situation. I mean, we've got a team of play therapists that work with us. So I've got myself and five other play therapists within our team, and I wanted, as being the manager in a sense, or the person that the provider sort of thing, I wanted to make sure it was right for everybody. So I needed to make sure the legal stuff was in place, the ethical stuff was in place, the confidentiality, the procedures are in place. I needed to make sure the technology was in place and appropriately. I mean, we're governed by different rules, but I'm guessing they're fairly similar. We're governed by the GDPR. So we needed to make sure we were compliant with the rules and stuff legally. I also needed to make sure we were clear with our Play Therapy Association, the British Association of Play Therapists, and make sure that name was it. But then another thing that I needed to, because a lot of our referrals come from schools or from social services or social care, so I needed to make sure that the referrers were happy with us moving to tele-mental health as well, tele-play therapy. And we're very lucky in this country. I don't know whether it's the same with you, Tammy, but our government since 2015 has recognised that children who have been adopted may need specialist support. So there is a pot of money for children who have been adopted that the government fund purely for therapy. So it's only for therapy for children who have been adopted or who are on a special guardianship order, as they say. So I needed to make sure the Adoption Support Agency was happy, Adoption Support Fund was happy with us to do it. So I made sure all of that was in place. But the first thing I had to do was make sure I was in the right place. Does that make sense? Yeah,
absolutely. It's the most important thing. We have to reset ourselves, and we can't do the work unless we are grounded.
And I think I don't know about you, Tammy, but I've been experiencing all sorts of odd feelings. I mean, I'm 50 something and I've never experienced anything like this ever. So I had to process all my own emotional responses around it, my own fears, my own reactions and bodily responses around it. So I had to do all that first before. And then we had all procedures and policies and everything. I wrote all different procedures and policies and contracts and stuff. We then had to assess whether it was appropriate for each individual child. So for some families, what we did was, again, we went back through and we did an intake interview with every family again to assess their need. Did the parents have the emotional capacity to support their child while play therapy was in place? Did they have the emotional capacity because they may well have suddenly find themselves in financial difficulties in different situations? They may well be dealing with illness. So we did an intake interview with each parent again, ascertain the needs and stuff, and then put in very clear boundaries about the play therapy. So we had a very clear written contract with each parent, and we talked them through step by step what would need to happen for their child to transition to Tele-Play therapy. Am I making sense?
You're making sense, and it's so important. You are making a game plan, and people
Yeah.
have just been reactive and just going on and just doing it. And you took the time, you took the preparation, which is so essential, and it's so important for people to be hearing that you're taking the proper steps.
And we also needed to assess whether it was appropriate for that individual child as well, not just the family. It's making sure everything was right. Was there space in the house? How would the parents manage their other siblings? How would the parents manage the child protective, confidential space? So we had to put all that in place. And then there was other things. So I'm a humanistic, integrative or prescriptive play therapist. So generally I work child-centered and follow the child's lead. So in the playroom, I wouldn't ask a child to tidy up. But there was all those thoughts around what happens actually at the end of the session. Who tidies up? Because I, in the playroom, can protect that child's confidentiality of their work because I put it away. So who was going to put this child's work away or protect the confidentiality? We had to have discussions around all of that. And so we had agreements with the children that if they wanted something put away, they put it in. And I'll come to this, is Tammy, I went to nearly all of the families that I could possibly get to the day before we went into lockdown. And I delivered a little play kit to each family. So they went in these bags. It might rattle a little bit, I'll try not to. But these are one of our shopping supermarkets bags, and it says, I can't read it now.
Strong and sturdy.
I'm strong and sturdy. And I thought, that's what we need to be in these times, don't we? Yeah. And then it said on the back, I'm a reliable bag. You can rely on me to carry heavy loads with ease. Don't forget me. So each child had, because I've got loads of these at home, because I keep forgetting to buy them, and I keep forgetting to take my bags when I go to the supermarket. So I had loads of these at home, and each child had one of these dropped on their doorstep. I have to say I anti-backed. I overdosed, I think, on anti-back that day, because every time I got out of the car I anti-backed, and then anti-backed when I got back in, and everything. But I did so each child had I'll see if I can share it. Can you see that? Okay. Yeah, a little bag with bits and pieces that I knew would be similar to, or obviously a condensed, very small version of things that are in our therapy room. So I'll try and zoom in a little bit so you can see. Actually, I won't for a minute. The silver mat thing, Tammy, I don't know whether you can see that.
Yeah.
That was one of the other things. So I trained back in 1992 with Anne Catternack and Dr. Sue Jennings. And Anne Catternack's a time, because it was very early on in the play therapy process, was that she went round, there wasn't therapy rooms and things like that. So she would go to family homes, but she would put the mat down, and that delineated the space for where therapy took place. So the play therapy goes on the mat, and if the child steps off the mat, then that's the sort of time we have to give a reminder, but that's the end of the play therapy, in the sense. It's a bit like if they were going in and out of the playroom door. So we put in the boundaries around it, but also psychologically we can fold it back up and put it away. And then the front room or the lounge or the dining room comes back to being the dining room and not the therapeutic or playroom space, the play space. So each child had a mat. in their bag, and I'll come back to the bit about the children putting their own stuff away. And then I try to think of things that these children would like, and my therapist also gave me ideas of what different children would need, and we rummaged around and found stuff. So in the white envelope was paper. So we had paper for children because we just needed it all to be accessible. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I use whiteboards a lot in the therapy room anyway. So we had a flimsy whiteboard, Play-Doh. I put a miniature sand tray in. I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit for you. We knew this little fella likes playing with soldiers and animals, so he had little soldiers in his bag, and the cars and stuff. Obviously, we have to be mindful when we're working in families' homes how much mess the family would tolerate. So I wasn't going to suddenly be putting huge amounts of paints in, but these paint sticks, I don't know whether you can see them in that little box, they're great. They're fantastic. I think they're the best thing ever because they're non-messy paint. Yeah, and we do have to be mindful of that in in families' homes, don't we? Yeah,
Definitely,
so
it's important.
Yeah, Play-Doh, and I put some clay in there, and there's a telescope, because I'd had some of those, and a pack of playing cards, and some crayons and stuff. So I think they all had little kits similar, depending on the needs. So one of my play therapists told me that one of their children liked fairies and unicorns. So she had fairies. I rummaged in my play kits and bags and stuff everywhere and found some fairies and unicorns that were quickly popped in the bag, and stuff. I also put in each bag for the parents, I'd bought a load of chocolate bars, and I just put emergency chocolate, use as needed, because I thought the parents need to be looked after, Tammy, don't they?
Absolutely. Sonia, I am so impressed with you doing these packages, you delivering them to the children's homes, the thoughts that you put in to every single one of what is a child's interest to truly make the healing possible. And I think of these packages when these children get these packages, and the excitement of the relationship that it's coming from you, and the fact of the chocolate with the parents. And we were talking about that relationship we have with the parents. And I mean, I just think it's just absolutely beautiful, and they are so lucky to have you to be able to provide that. And just, you know, it takes a lot of time for you to have been able to do that, and to have them set up then to be able to do these sessions.
And I think you're right, Tammy. We have, in a sense, I wanted to look after them all. A lot of the children we work with long term. Because we often get referred children who have had long-term interpersonal trauma and developmental trauma. So for them not to be seeing us for, well, I don't know how long at the moment, I really genuinely don't know,
Right.
It could rupture the therapeutic relationship, and it could actually reconfirm to those children that people abandon them, neglect them, or walk away. So we had to put lots of things, we had to consider it. I mean, for some of the other children, Tammy, we haven't been able to do it because it hasn't been appropriate. But what we've done is put letters in, or we've done cards or whatever, or one of my play therapists is not being able to work at the moment, present time, so she's done something that they're going to play a game at the same time. So she's told him she'll be playing a game at that time, and then he can do that. For others, when they haven't been able to do that, what we've done is we've transitioned to therapeutic family support online. So I'm doing a lot of family stuff, working with the families so that they can continue meeting the needs, but they're somehow staying connected. Right. Yeah, does that? For one of them, they're going to do some filial or child-parent relationship therapy. So I've been coaching them on how to do that and stuff. So it's been a full-on time. It's been a big learning curve.
It has. Sonia, this is so helpful, and we could be talking for
Oh,
hours, and it was
yeah.
just so wonderful to see your face and to catch up
And
with
you.
you. I wish I was there with you, but hopefully I will see you next summer. And
Can I just,
yes,
Tammy, can I just say something? I don't
absolutely.
know whether it's the same for you, but out of this, it's been obviously it's a horrific time, isn't it, for everybody?
Right.
But what's been lovely as for me is watching not just the play therapy community coming together, but our society, our community has come together. So, I mean, we are so fortunate in this country to have a national health service that has been phenomenal. Everybody has stepped up to the plate, and they are doing everything possible to keep everybody safe. But what's been lovely is that we've suddenly appreciated that, and we've come together as a community. And I think it's what I'm seeing is more kindness is
Mhm.
coming out of this.
Right.
I hope you're seeing the same, because even the kindness on the therapy communities is fantastic, but to see it in our society as well is just wonderful. So
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful way to end, and I think it's true. You know, we're coming together as a world. You know, this
yeah,
virus affects everybody. You know,
yeah,
young, poor, all cultural backgrounds, and so you
absolutely,
know we have to. It's really bringing the whole world together as one.
yeah, yeah,
Of how can we work together? I mean, this is a world issue, and that you know when things are tough is when people often step up. And hopefully that
absolutely,
this whole pandemic will make people shift and keep that kindness in their hearts, and that
yeah,
it's not just going to disappear once
yeah,
all this is done, and that we will all be so much more aware and so grateful every single day. I know
yeah,
that
absolutely, yeah,
there's so much gratitude every single day
yeah,
now of the things that we lost from big to small, and that we're all pulling through. And this experience for me has brought so much in terms of the light of my children and my
yeah,
clients, and the shift of my healing there, and
yeah,
seeing their own resilience, as well
yeah,
as just everyone. And I've been loving reaching out to all my
yeah,
colleagues and friends in my in the community, because it's just been so helpful to know that we're all in this together.
yeah. Can I just mention one thing, Tammy?
Yes.
Sorry, I know we could talk forever, couldn't we, Tammy? You and I could definitely. But I mean, for me, I'm a humanistic, child-centered play therapist, and I was quite conscious that there's lots of, do I need to do new techniques? I went back to being a bit unsure of my own practice, having been practicing for God knows how many years, and it was like, oh, but it's worked, Tammy. I've learned, by trusting the children and their process, they naturally have fallen and stepped into it. And okay, sometimes I have to sit with that. This is rubbish. This is yucky. But that isn't that what we have to do as play therapists?
Absolutely.
I got one last week. He wanted to go out and he couldn't go out, and it was just rubbish. And that was what we sat with.
Yeah, because we
But
have to recognize that we have many of those moments even in the playroom.
oh, absolutely,
So, but
yeah,
we forget that, you know, we
yeah,
have this whole other pressure. And, you know, I'll also say, we were talking about, you know, what is it like doing client-centered play when, you know, the parents can hear you,
yeah.
and we
Oh
know
gosh,
that the work, what we're doing is working, and we're tracking, and we're, you know, reflecting, but the parents don't really know what we're doing, and it's a lot more pressure, right? When we shut the door, it's different because we're there with the child, but we know other people can be listening, and why it's so important then to be connecting with parents, and to be
yeah,
providing consultation and feedback of, this is what we're doing, these are the themes we're seeing, because if not, we may lose them. And for them to, maybe it's a more of a positive for
yeah.
them to know more in terms of these themes in the process, if they're not in it with them. And I think it's
Yeah,
beautiful if they can be in it with them,
yeah,
but
of
when
course,
they're
yeah,
not, how are we bridging that and helping them understand the themes because they are there, to make this more of a learning opportunity than an opportunity of some anxiety and discomfort that we sometimes have when we're doing this play. And it's like, okay, who's listening? And are they judging me as a therapist? So I've been very critical of myself and trying to take those moments to reset and recognizing, no, this is what I know that works. And this is powerful healing. And I have to trust that process as well.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's it's interesting because I think that's really important to think about, because I mean, thankfully we're required to have supervision, so thankfully I have supervision regularly anyway. But I think so that those processes I can take to that. But it's really interesting because quite often, and I when we were having that discussion prior, we were thinking about what must it be like. Quite often people think when we demonstrate play therapy that it looks easy. Yeah. And they'll go, oh, yeah, I can do that. It's easy. And then when they start doing it, when they do the reflective responding instead of the questioning, and the non-labeling and all of those bits, suddenly they realize how tricky it is. And so that was, it's like when you were thinking about the parents, they're probably thinking, oh, that looks really easy. Yeah, what's she doing? She's playing with our child. That looks really easy. But actually, it isn't easy, is it? We know as trained play therapists, it's a complex process. You can learn it, and it's good, but it's not as simple as people sometimes we make it look like. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's an important. It's just, I mean, it's working. Yeah,
it's working.
Some it doesn't, but I think those are the ones we need to look at. What's that about? What's happening? Have we done enough at the start to set it up properly?
Yeah. And it sounds like you have done such a beautiful job at the start, setting it up properly. And so I think this is such an important video of recognizing this piece, because there are some people who have held off, but depending on how long, then this is a time to be getting all the prep, getting all the training, and doing all of it, because we don't know if then it will come back, right? We just don't know. And it's like, the more, this is a time to be prepared for whatever's going to happen in the future.
And you're right. I forgot to say that, Tammy. I have done some really good online trainings, webinar trainings about telemental health. I did a recent one, a 9-hour one, which was fantastic, which was purely around British, because obviously we do have slightly different rules and stuff. And that, I have to say, was really informative and really good around all the security and the protection and the confidentiality stuff. So it was excellent. Yeah.
Great. Okay, Sonia, thank you so much for taking time, and I hope to see you soon.
Very soon. And thank you so much, Tammy. Take care of you, won't you?
Okay, take care.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.